My name's Jordan Campbell. I'm from Scotland, as you mentioned. I lived in China for 13 years prior to coming to Atlanta about a year and a half ago, where I had a event and staffing agency. And also I'm an auctioneer, host and MC with a lot of nonprofits that I've worked with in China, the UK, and now in Atlanta. So I'm really excited and joined Boundless about a year ago now as their Chief Strategy Officer. It's funny how it started. I mean, when I was younger, I used to do, I really like languages. So at university, I did Russian and Spanish. And as part of that, I had to go abroad teaching English in front of classrooms full of Russian kids or Spanish-speaking kids. And so that really got me interested in the public speaking side of things. But then I worked for Bacardi and I was representing Dewar's whiskey. And that was all about traveling around China, wearing my kilt, talking in Chinese about whiskey to VIPs, to distributors and so on. And that whole performance, that whole show really piqued my interest. But the auctioneering side and the benefit auction side really got into it when I was invited by the Marriott to represent their foundation throughout China with Yao Ming, the basketballer who was at Houston Rockets. And just being up on stage, making a difference for the causes, driving revenues up in the best way I know how, and using personality to really get the emotion conveyed. That's something that really got me going and something that was really fulfilling. So that's how I got into auctioneering and benefit auctions specifically.
To be fair, I was at university with Prince William, and so obviously I can't really comment on how he was when he was a young boy and that tragedy happened. Mm-hmm. But certainly I can comment generally. I think it's a massive blow to any young boy. If it happened to me, for example, it would be a massive blow. And for them to have coped the way they have, both him and Harry, is really admirable. It's something everyone has in their mind's eye, the procession at the funeral, and when they're both young boys, and you know, you've got to feel for them at that time. But these guys have grown, they've become the people they are, the men they are, and it's really admirable. It's something to really respect.
So I think one of the main things is to raise that awareness, raise the money for the cause so that you can raise lives. You can literally change lives in many different ways, and to be able to bring something to that and to that world, I'm hugely passionate about that.
We're live from Mercy Care Chambly Clinic. Expect a wonderful evening of live bidding, lucky draws, and hearing the compelling stories from the Mercy Care team and the lives that they have changed. I am so excited and indeed honored to be a part of something so special. It is the phenomenal, great work that Mercy Care does, the lives that they better, and the impact they make on so many individuals on a daily basis. After all, he who has health has hope, and he who has hope has everything.
There's quite a few, and I think one of the main ones is knowing how to work a room. Because sometimes you have 500 people, sometimes you have 1,000 people in the room. They might have had a few drinks, or they might be overexcitable, or they haven't seen each other for quite a while. But I think the ability to engage with the crowd, get them not only on a personal level, but on a level with the organizational and the mission and the cause. I think that's pivotal to be able to really engage them in order to put their hands in their pockets and draw some emotion with the cause and that. But also, I think charisma, it really helps. A loud voice sometimes helps if there's problems with the microphones, which sometimes happens at events. But I think the ability to understand the story behind the cause, the ability to really resonate yourself and resonate the message and convey the message to the audience itself about the cause, about the difference that they're making that night or that afternoon. I think that's the most powerful thing an auctioneer can bring to an event, is to strike that perfect balance between what the audience has come for and also the raising the money part. You've got to strike that perfect, respectable balance. And I think that's one of the key skill sets to a good auctioneer.
They say the conductor of an orchestra doesn't make a sound. He depends, for his power, on his ability to make other people powerful. And you, ladies and gentlemen, this evening are the conductors. You have that power to help others, to inspire, to nurture that orchestra of our future generations. After all, music acts like a magic key to which even the most tightly closed heart opens. So let's all open our hearts and our purse strings and feel free to donate at a level you feel comfortable with.
To be honest, it's quite hard to answer that. I think quite chameleonic. You have to change with your audience. You have to know who you're speaking to. You have to feel the vibe of the audience. Sometimes it's like herding cats. If there's lots of people in the audience and they're all having a great time, but sometimes it's more formal. So striking that perfect vibe, gauging the crowd, and most importantly, knowing the cadence of the event. To be able to know when to intonate certain areas and when to emphasize and when to step back a little bit. So I think my skill set is knowing how to work that crowd, but also be able to roll with the punches, because we all know, as you know, Taylor, there's many times during the event where the unpredictable happens. Mm-hmm. So it's that ability to change, to adapt. I think that is one of the most crucial things. And then finally, just really having that point of contact emotionally with the audience, because if you do a good job up there as an auctioneer, they're more and more likely to want to help that cause. There's been quite a few, and not just because of me on stage, but because of the whole team that pulled together. But one that stands out, there's a couple, but one that stands out is also quite a crazy story. So I was doing an auction for Marriott and the Yao Ming Foundation in China, and we're doing a fund a need. And prior to the event, one of the things I do, as most auctioneers do, is work and mingle around the crowd, get to know people, why they're with that mission, why they're here tonight. And I met that guy. Everyone else was in black tie, tuxedos, and there was a Chinese man in flip-flops and t-shirt. But for some reason, just by pure luck or instinct, I don't know, I approached him, got to know him, and then thought nothing of it. Fund a Need comes around later that night. I'm asking for $50,000, the equivalent, to help fund migrant schools in rural China. And a few paddles come up, 3 paddles, 4 paddles, 5 paddles. And then suddenly one paddle comes up and this voice booms from the back, $1 million. And I go, sorry, is this Austin Powers? Is someone saying $1 million? And it was the guy in flip-flops and a t-shirt who you would have thought wasn't there for the event. But he came up to me afterwards and he said, it's because you approached me and talked to me, because people just assumed this, but it turned out he was a multi-millionaire who was really passionate about the cause and really wanted to get involved. So that was a strange but wonderfully weird success story. Being from Scotland is quite easy. And having a teaching background, I taught English in schools for a couple of years, and knowing how to handle the rowdy kids. Adults are the same. But I think it's to feed off that, is to do it in a respectful way. It's so tempting to be able to just tell everyone to be quiet. But I think going down into the crowd, interacting with them, identifying the rowdiest tables and befriending them in a certain way. There was one crowd that we had that was very rambunctious, but I realized, I asked into the microphone, does anyone know how to wolf whistle? And so someone put up his hand, was really excited, so I got them to wolf whistle into the microphone. And then the whole room went quiet, and he felt really involved. And so I think really it's like a school. It's like a classroom. Because if you identify the influencers in that crowd, in a way, the ones who are a little bit louder and so on, and bring them on as part of the journey and the experience, I think that's a game changer.
We already have bids coming in from Margaret Gomez, from Alison McCallum. Thank you so much. We have a $300 donation also from Andrea Chirla. Yes. Anonymous donation. Thank you so much, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous.
I mean, the thought behind it makes sense, because it saves money. But at the end of the day, it doesn't allow for an increased revenue at the end of the day. Professional auctioneers, hosts and MCs, trained not only in order to have the license, particularly in the state of Georgia, but also trained to know the nuances of when to push, when to pull back, knowing the nuances of what will sell better, how to script in such an emotional way that gets people on board, and how to know where to put the fund in need, know when to put the live auction. So it's not just a guy on stage or a girl on stage talking. It's all the approach before the event, the warming up of the event, mingling with the crowd prior to it. And it's really essentially a game that has to be played on stage to a certain extent, but which is to the benefit of the cause. Well, first and foremost, the logic is that the friend or neighbor will be cheaper. That's a foregone conclusion. But ultimately, if the ultimate aim is to raise as much revenue as possible, what you pay for the auctioneer becomes super important because it's a good return on investment. Because the auctioneer has been trained, both legally to get certified and auction license, but trained in all the nuances of how to get the crowd going, how to emotionally convey the message and pour their hearts out and into the studies of the mission itself, and to understand the key words, the sound bites that are needed that really reflect awareness and convey awareness for the cause. So I think the auctioneer, due to that training, due to that experience, knows how to build a relationship with the crowd. They know when to have the fund in need. They know when to have the live auction. They can advise on that. They can help working with the script. So I help working with the script so you can make it to the exact point that you want, so you don't waste words. You use words very wisely in order that the crowd continues to be engaged. The audiences and guests feel that they're a part and emotionally tied into the cause. And I think that's the main reason why having a professional auctioneer is so much more important, because ultimately the bottom line is revenue, and a professional auctioneer can help to multiply that.
Thank you very much, Ashley. It's my honor and pleasure to be here. Well, we have a packed week ahead, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely packed, full of fun, full of excitement, but most importantly, full of inspiration. Before we start, however, we really do have to give a big shout out and a massive thank you to our sponsors.
Close collaboration is with the event production, with video production, and the auctioneer is essential for so many reasons. On a basic level, it's that relationship. If you're a team that's happy, like a soccer team or a football team or a baseball team that's happy going onto the field together with a sense of common purpose, then the result will always be better. And so if you can get along well on the base level, that's great. But the collaboration prior to it also involves knowing the run of show together, making sure it flows smoothly, making sure the AV, the music, the microphone, every single element of the event runs smoothly, and you're all on point. I think a happy team that you work with is a really solid team, especially when you're passionate about one outcome, and that's to raise revenue.
And of course, check out our Premier Lucky Draw items. There are some amazing prizes to be won, including Kenny Chesney's Blue Chair Ray package. Amazing.
I mean, there's lots of little stories. Like being on stage with Yao Ming was the basketballer was incredible. In China, there's 1.4 billion Chinese people, and he's more known in China than any other athlete that's ever lived. And so his popularity is huge. And just to be on stage with them, I felt successful already. But to be able to raise money together and have fun while doing it, that was the key, is for an auctioneer or an MC or host to establish a rapport with those who are on stage with them, whether it's the CEO, the president of the company, or the nonprofit. And that's key. So we established a good rapport with Yao Ming, even went to high five me at some point, and I had to literally jump at the high jump in order to high five him. Every single dollar raised is a wee success story in itself. It's every dollar you raise, you're changing lives in some way, style, or form. And so I think anytime I go up on stage, I'm proud to be part of the organization I'm representing. I'm proud to be able to use some skill sets I've learned over the years to bring that to the audiences, to the guests, and to the communities at large. And so for me, that's the definition of success. If you can go home after an event and have raised more money than was projected for a start, but also to really resonate and build awareness around the cause. That's what makes it successful in my eyes. Along with every other auctioneer, every other event and host, you have the stories about the lights going out that are inopportune times, or the live feed, before you start, and that happens, and that is something you just have to roll with the punches on. That's something you have to adapt. Fortunately, the audience or the guests at the event, largely they don't see these issues. It's the event producers, the event managers, us as auctioneers, we see it, and so sometimes we get stressed out as a result. But we have to remember that we're ducks on water. Underneath it's all flapping, but we have to, on the surface at least, show that everything's under control. So any events that stand out, there was one of my first auction events. It wasn't a huge problem, but it was hugely embarrassing for me. The microphone broke, and I was fine with using my voice. Luckily, I've got a loud Scottish voice. But one of the organizers came up to me and said, "Oh, how about you clink the glass, because that will look really good and it sound really good." And I was, in the moment, and it was one of my first events, so I was still learning. I decided to clink it. Glass smashed all over my hands in front of 500 people. And, at first, your first reaction is, "Oh no, I've just looked like a fool. They're not going to respect me." But if you make a joke of it, if you make light of it, and so I just tried to be as British as possible and said, "Well, what a smashing start to the night." And a cheesy dad joke, but for some reason it put everyone at ease and made everyone laugh, and you can get on with the night. So you have small stories like that, and then the larger ones, but everyone goes through it. There are a lot of difference between virtual events and physical events. Obviously, the real worry when we first started doing virtual events was, are we going to reach enough people? How are we going to engage the audiences across the screen and on the same emotional level? Are we going to raise as much money as we have before? And through learnings and through pivoting and through really taking our time to understand the virtual world, we realized that all of those things can be spun into a positive. For example, with virtual events, you can reach more people. Your neighbor can tune in. I can ask my family to tune in, as they often do from the UK. So you can reach more people, cast a wider net. We found at Boundless, we've actually found for, I think, 97% of our clients that we've had virtually, and we've done over 28 events as of now, virtual events, that we've raised more money than we had in a physical event, which sounds crazy. But pivoting was something that we had to do. We had to learn to live with it. But for me personally, I really do enjoy it. It feels, in a weird way, it feels like I'm in the movies. It's, you've got the starting 5, 4, 3, 2, and there's an excitement about that. But also the ability to script things to perfection. On the physical event, you can't script everything because you have to ad-lib a lot. But with virtual events, you can do some pre-recordings. Even if you're live, you may have the teleprompter. And that allows you to script things in such a way that it really has an emotional resonance with who you're talking to across the screen. So you can try and reach beyond the screen to really draw eyeballs to virtual.
Wow, thank you for tuning in this evening. On behalf of Mercy Care, thank you to the sponsors and donors, without whom this evening would not have been possible.
Well, my role as the Chief Strategy Officer was basically to look at the company, work with Megan, work with the team, the account team, everyone on the team, to think, okay, how can we pivot and maximize the lost opportunities? Because there are many lost opportunities. But most importantly, how can we help to carry or support the nonprofits and our clients through this tough time where they have to keep the engine running? So we looked at the virtual space and we thought, how can we maximize this opportunity? How can we make an opportunity out of every crisis? And so it was that pivot, and we rebranded ourselves as a company. We pivoted to virtual, which we still obviously do physical when that comes back. But we also rebranded ourselves to Boundless, because we realized that our services, that one-stop shop of video production, of design, of marketing support, project management, auctioneers, MCs, and so on, that was the feedback we got from clients, rather than the clients going after 5, 6, 7 vendors to help put together the event. We can help with it all, which really streamlines the process, makes it consistent, and builds that relationship with the nonprofit. So we're more like a family, and that's why we called ourselves Boundless. So we can go beyond the limits for our clients, and so that we can therefore go beyond the limits for the causes. I think the key to successful fund a need, first and foremost, is dramatically changing the tone of the event in an instant. Because not only does that grab attention of the guests and the audience and the viewers if it's virtual, but it allows the emotion to creep in. If you start a sense of pathos, if you start a sense of empathy, and you have an emotional connection, be it the fund a need video, the mission appeal, and so on, I think that key is for the auctioneer to suddenly slow things down, bring people back to what the cause is all about on an emotional level, remind them of the lives that they can change with every donation that they make, but actually give them a tangible item or a tangible change that they can make with that $5,000 or that $100 or that $500. So each level has to be clearly outlined on a descriptive level, of course, how you can change that individual life. Because humans, we're tactile, we like to have things as tangible. And so if the fund a need is clearly laid out that way, but also told as a story, stories are the most powerful things you can have. We've told them for thousands and thousands of years, as cavemen in front of fires, up till now. Stories is what drives the human experience. And if you can relay that story and of the mission of a cause, then that's the game changer for a fund a need. I think it's so important for the auctioneer to be able to understand that and to be able to deliver upon that on the stage in a really engaging fashion as well. It's not just all about being formal and being emotional, but it's about persuasion, really, for the guests to look you in the eye when you're on the stage and go, yeah, I want to help this cause. What I can bring, I believe, because ultimately I believe that humans are built with a desire for purpose, to change things and to leave the world in a better place than when they entered it. If I can do that and couple it with the skill sets and the learnings and experiences I've had all around the world as an auctioneer, MC and host, and in events from China to the UK to the States and so on, then I believe that is something I offer that's unique. And I believe coupled with the passion is something that would really help and does really help our clients and our nonprofits to make that difference, because it's all about making that difference. And every single skill or power that I have, I'll put into making sure that the awareness is raised, the revenues are raised, and lives are changed.